Ready?
Okay.
Okay, can you tell me your name?
I'm Nathaniel Marquez from the Philippines.
And who do you work with?
I work with the Asian NGO Coalition for Agrarian Reform and Rural Development. It's a regional network established in 1979, working on land issues, food security, and sustainable agriculture.
You've come to this conference in Nepal, International Conference on Land Rights, Agrarian Reform. How are things similar to Nepal in the Philippines, and how are they not so similar?
Well, both are still agrarian in terms of looking at the poverty. Most are in the rural areas. A lot of farmers don't have land in that sense. But I think in the Philippines, because we have an agrarian reform program, a number also of farmers have benefited. I'm not saying though that the land reform program is that successful, but at the same time, I don't want to call it also as a failure in our country. The difference I think now is that in terms of this level, the level and the openness or the space for civil society and social movements in the Philippines, I think is greater than in Nepal. Farmers group, NGOs can participate and jointly implement programs. They can have constructive dialogues, more I think, and to that extent, results are achieved. It's not just a matter of meetings. I think there's also gains here in Nepal, but given the dynamics, the political dynamics, there's a lot of hurdles to overcome.
Is there legislation in the Philippines regarding land and agrarian reform implementation? And if so, how much implementation has occurred?
Well, there's a lot of land reforms that were enacted even in the start in the 60s, 70s. But it has different, for the time during when the former dictator introduced the land reform program, it covered only rice and corn the crops. But in 1988, when the Congress for People's Agrarian Reform, which is a broad coalition of farmers group and supported by NGOs, a comprehensive agrarian reform program was pushed. It has basic principles like land to the tiller, recognition of women, and then joint partnership with farmers group and NGOs. Also compulsory acquisition of government on private lands. Despite its shortcomings, because there's still a lot of politicians who are also landed elites, as well as in the bureaucracy, we have to continuously push them. There's about estimate says that about 60 to 70% of the targeted 8.1 million hectares of land has been distributed. Of course, there are debates whether that number really translate to actual occupation of farmers. I mean, you have situation where titles have been issued, but the landowners filed appeal to the Supreme Court. So in that case, when the case that was filed is ongoing, then there's a temporary restraining order, and therefore farmers cannot physically occupy and till the land. So you have that kind of situation. The other is that even if the farmers own the land, the support services, credit, marketing, technology transfer have been limited, and therefore there's a situation that farmers there's a tendency for some of the farmers to either abandon or sell the land, and the youth are not, the children of farmers are not that interested because of the little government support to agriculture.
And what implications do you see for Nepal in the land rights movement in Philippines?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities for both countries to learn from each other in terms of sharing of experiences on the process for formulating land laws as well as implementing land reform programs. There's also venues for different farmers to have a sharing of how we do social mobilization, organizing leaders and members. So I think the prospects are that. I mean, in fact, in 2012, we sort of hosted a high-level delegation from Nepal composed of the government and civil society organizations like CSRC and the National Land Rights Forum to come to our country to learn what we did and what we have not done in terms of implementing the land reform program.
Very good. Thank you.